in the middle of the first Zoom version of the show. We did some live IG versions of the show.
Technically, we did a couple. The IG live.
Yeah, we did the Instagram lives, which were for anyone that wants to go on to Instagram Live. You can go check those out. But this is going to be not only an audio, but an also Zoom version where you get to see a very rare instance into our houses. Look, guys, we're nerds. Like, it's not.
Wait, so this is us. We back. We're like coming to America. Mortimer, we're back.
Wow. Such a deep reference. I think our audience doesn't know what Trading Places is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they know what Trading Places is.
I know they do. It's an Eddie Murphy movie. If you don't know Eddie Murphy, then you probably should leave right here.
Probably, yeah. But still hit that like and subscribe before you leave.
Hit that like and subscribe. It's somewhere. It's either up here or over there or somewhere along here. You'll see it somewhere. So we are back. There has been a shit ton of stuff since we've come back together on here. So we are basically just we're at the midterm point. If you've not been living under a rock, you know that basically Marvel has been killing the game for the last year when it comes to TV. We're let me see. Let me count it correctly. We are 18 episodes into I'm counting all of it. So there was 9 WandaVisions. There were 6 Falcon and Winter Soldiers, or Captain America and the Winter Soldier now. And now we're episode 3 going into 4. As we record right now, it is going to be episode 4 coming up very soon. So we're at the halfway point, because this is going to be
episode 3 of Loki.
Mr. Tom Hiddleston.
Loki. On episode 3 of Loki.
So, what is your thoughts so far of Loki? We're here recapping episode 1 through 3, and then we'll have another episode coming up this very shortly, 4.
Before I even jump into Loki, I just have to say that Marvel has done a fucking amazing job in general since WandaVision.
Oh,
not only even the fact that these, like, we get to see these characters on a more intimate level and get to know them more and stuff like that. But the source material, like, I'm pretty sure this is not even like on purpose, but a coincidence that the source material is very relevant to everything that's been going on last year with the pandemic and stuff, like, with not only just the pandemic, but with George Floyd and every other situation. Because, WandaVision, we talked about loss and grief. Falcon talked about, being a Black Captain America, and race has been very heavy, with like Asian hate and Black Lives Matter. So it's great. And then even with Loki, I'm thinking about, even with this show Loki, I feel like, his thing was always glorious purpose. Like, that's the thing he said like a million times throughout, since we first saw him in the first Thor movie. And now I feel like his show is not only heading down the path of dealing with multiverses and stuff, but it also seems like the show subliminally talks about identity, like self-identity, and and your purpose. Like, what is your purpose? Like, kind of makes you look at yourself like, what is my purpose? Am I on the right path to what I talk about wanting to do?
I agree. I think that there definitely is that overarching theme of it's just ironic that these shows, because none of us would have known that we would be dealing with a pandemic that we're currently still in, but it is looking a little bit better. So kudos to that. But it is nice to see that the same I love the fact that what Marvel is doing with the MCU always harkens back to the work of old, and the maker, or one of the guys who was sort of the head honchos before Kevin Feige, was Stan Lee. And I remember one of the things that Stan Lee said was that when in the creation of these characters, they wanted it to be a world that was reflecting of the world in the times that are now. And that's what these pieces of art that Marvel is creating are. They're essentially pieces of the time. We can look out the window and see the things that happen with, like, George Floyd, and then look at conversations like that speech that Falcon had, or Captain America had, at the end of that show, which was so timely and so on point and so poignant. Which is funny because I was watching an interview on YouTube, I don't remember the show, but they were doing like a round table with those guys. And it was after the show was over. And they were talking about when Anthony Mackie was talking about when he actually got the script and read that part. And he thought it was like, this like body of work that is written, this shit right here needs to be framed because it is literally.
I swear, when he got to the page where he's like, yo, I'm gonna be Captain America. Yo, I want to know if we ever get to interview him. I'm like, yo, I want to know what your reaction was when you found out, yo, Captain America gonna be black and it's gonna be me. Yo,
absolutely. I think he was.
And was that a lot of pressure too? Because it feels like it's a lot of pressure to take on too. Like, you don't want to fuck this up.
I remember there being an interview where he was actually, he literally, what you call it? He literally was afraid to do the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, he told the story of how after Endgame, him and I call him Bucky, but Sebastian Stan, literally were invited to a meeting that neither one of them knew, that the other ones didn't know that the other person had a meeting. So they showed up and it's like, you're meeting with them? Yeah, I'm meeting with them. What are we meeting about? So it's like, well, okay, I don't know. It must have something to do with our character. So they sat them down and they did it. And actually, Anthony Mackie was, surprise, Anthony Mackie was actually against the idea of doing the show. And the reason why he was against doing it was not that he didn't want to, he just didn't want to do what he considered to be like a dumbed down. He said Marvel has had a track record of these top level tier, high quality movies. And he just didn't feel like doing it on TV was going to give it that same type of like Marvel, special sauce that was on there. So obviously they talked him into it, but and the product is right there. You can see, yes, from the very beginning of the opening set piece of Falcon and Winter Soldier is legit. Oh, this feels like a Marvel movie. Like, you're like, oh, okay, we're still in the MCU.
Every freaking thing they've done feels like a movie. And then going into Loki, the fucking opening sequence starts from the movie. What was it? From Avengers.
Avengers, yeah. They actually took that piece from Endgame, the part where they were supposed to be going in and like stealing the Tesseract and doing all that. And yes, they tie it directly right back into like what happens. And if anybody's watched, in our audience has watched these shows like we have, that the feel of these are there. So like, the feel of the MCU and like the jokes and the quirks and all the different things that and love, it's all there.
It also made me forget too, because I had forgotten. I mean, it's also a refresher too, because I had forgotten like that they were joking around and they took a picture in the elevator, like, say cheese. Like, I didn't even remember that some of that stuff even happened at all.
You're like, wait, was it? Now, there was actually in episode 1, since we're talking about Loki, there was only one scene that they did reshoot, which was Loki in the elevator wave. That was an actual reshoot that they just spliced in there.
Okay, because I was like, because it had me thinking like, wait, was that in the original?
Nah, that wasn't original. He didn't wave or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, they kicked the show off, like just talking about episode 1, they kicked the show off right away with, literally not a gut punch, but what was it? A club punch to the face, like, or a club swipe to the face.
Even the first episode is even called Glorious Purpose. Like they literally talk about like,
he's burdened with glorious purpose.
Yeah, because like from the big, it's funny. It's funny how pop culture replicates itself, because I never realized till I watched Loki that Loki, like, there's qualities of Loki that I also see from Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Like, one thing is, not currently, but in the past, especially in the beginning of Vegeta, he was always, I'm the Prince of all Saiyans and blah, blah, blah. And he had that whole mantra that he always preached over and over again. So I'm like, same thing with Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He's always been, I am Loki, blah, 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 and I am burdened with glorious purpose, and blah, 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 and I should be the rightful, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, it's crazy how things, manifest from one thing to another.
Obviously that's by design. Like, from all the different Lokis that they've had in comics and different people write him, he is essentially a villain who over the years and the times in which, comic books started to sort of humanize quote unquote villains and sort of question like who's the real villain here in the situation, or at least what we would call like a sympathetic villain.
Wait, which is great.
Now he's an anti-hero.
Which is great points, because I think that's what the first episode of Loki does. It humanizes Loki and shows you that this guy does have feelings. He isn't just this giant monster. And he gets a chance to see that on a fucking television screen that shows his life. Like, this is your life. He gets to see,
literally.
Like he gets to see. And I think it was awesome too that he got to see like stuff. I mean, I know Loki takes place, during the first Avengers movie. So this version of Loki didn't do all the stuff in Thor Ragnarok where he gets closer to Thor, and he did, and
well, see, now that's the thing, right? I want to not to cut you off. The one thing that I sort of theorize, and I think that they've confirmed a little bit in the show, is that when the TVA comes and plucks you out of wherever, like the path that you've gone off, when they pluck you out of that, as they keep reiterating throughout the entire show, time works differently, right? So him being plucked out of that moment in which he, ran away and wound up in that desert talking to, those people, and then they plucked him out. You notice they destroyed that branch. They kind of fixed the timeline. And where the TVA operates, in my opinion, has to be within the quantum realm. Because for me, I think the quantum realm is the in-between to all the multiverses.
Well, yeah. Basically. Well, see, I don't know, because what was it? The Infinity Stones are basically worthless in whatever time they are. So yeah, it has to be some other realm, like the quantum realm or somewhere.
It has to be, because like if you are not technically in, so if it's like what I'm thinking in this situation, and this is just all speculation, what I'm thinking is that all of the multiverses that we know of exist, in their own little pockets or whatever. And from what the show brilliantly puts together in the first few minutes there with the little cartoon Miss Minutes gives you, of course, voiced by Tara Strong, because she's awesome. And they have this sacred timeline, right? The sacred timeline. In my mind, I feel like the sacred timeline is essentially the MCU. Like somebody from the very, so if you think about it, the way that they say, and I'll try to mimic Miss Minutes. Hey y'all, it's we got the sacred timeline. Like that whole thing. It's basically going back.
That sound more like the old man from Family Guy, by the way.
I was thinking more Mr.
We got some sacred timelines.
So they said when she first started off her little speech in that beautiful little cartoon, their biggest concern, the main point of the TVA, is to prevent another, not the first, another multi-dimensional multiverse war.
Like basically a shitstorm of all these different worlds. And
so at some point in time, so if they're doing it the way that I'm thinking, it seems to me like what they're actually doing is they are basically honoring the comics as even a part of this, saying, remember Secret Wars? We're not saying exactly which Secret Wars they're talking about, because technically there was the original Secret Wars back in like the 90s, and then there was the Secret Wars that actually happened in like 2000s. So, whatever, whichever one you grew up reading, there was some multi-dimensional war that occurred.
They're like, speculate, nerds. Go ahead, speculate.
You don't know which one you want.
You don't know which one we're talking about, so
it's like, hey, do me a favor. Can you go to your local comic shop and buy the Secret Wars, whichever one you want to get? Secret Wars 1, Secret Wars 2, Secret Wars from 2015, 6, whatever Secret Wars you want. Go and pick up that book, and you can, look at the original. So it's like taking the sort of doctrine of the comic and sort of merging it so that it's all kind of one, cohesive story. In real life, Kevin Feige is also in charge of comics, Marvel Comics, and the movies. So it's like this weird sort of meta thing where I feel like Marvel is.
He said he wants like the stuff that's going on in the comics to kind of coincide with the movies as well. Like he wants everything to be like one, consistent thing.
Correct. So now you're getting this like big, oh, look at this. Like I have this, I have a work, like in order for them to, from a corporation standpoint, if I get to that part of it and then bring it back from a corporation standpoint, you know what vertical integration is?
Nope.
Okay, so vertical integration, and I may be saying it wrong.
History lesson, boys and girls.
Let's go a history lesson. So, a vertical integration for a company is when a company owns like multiple different things, and each level of these things sort of are able to make something happen for the next thing. See that WWE title in my background over there? They have different levels to what happens, like NXT, the main roster, other things they do, like NXT UK. So the idea is watch these TV shows, go to the live events, buy these toys, buy the merchandise. Like there's levels of your participation in this.
Oh yeah.
So for integration for Disney would be subscribe to Disney Plus so you can watch these lovely TV shows we're talking about.
I mean, ultimately too, that's why it makes sense that they have plans for Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel, and all these characters of different races as well, because what are you doing? You're basically building your own United Kingdom where everybody, not
United Kingdom. Yeah, you mean the United Nations.
I mean, yeah, United. That's what I say. United Kingdom. Yeah, that's what
United Kingdom is a country.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, like you're building your own, United Nations basically. Where like, what are you? Oh well, I'm Island Pacific. Great, because there's a superhero
coming for you.
Yeah, like there's a superhero coming along that fits right along with that, and they're all brands together. But another great thing that all shows us is, boys and girls, that we're all one.
We're all one human race. We all just got different tan skins and different cultures and practices that we are. There's really no difference other than that. That was the more you know. So.
Going back to Loki, the biggest takeaway, and I just want to say this, if I'm right, so that all the wonderful people watching this can be like, Ronnie was right.
Or listening.
That the last one of the last scenes towards the end of the first episode of Loki, when he saw what happens to him at the hands of Thanos, just in my opinion, like the tears in his eyes and everything from that moment, I was like, I thought, and I could be wrong, but I thought that in his mind, no matter how this show ends, I ain't dying. Fuck that. That is not gonna be my fate. Like that's not how this is gonna end. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can make it so that's not how he goes out.
Here's the thing for me, right? Like, I feel like them opening the door to multiverse theory in general for the Marvel universe is both a risk, a tough risk. Like, they did this wonderful thing where they introduced all these worlds, right? So at the same time, like, there's been little glimmers. Like, if you go back and watch, like, Ant-Man and the Wasp, like, where Janet Van Dyne was, there were things going on in the quantum realm that wasn't cool. Like there was some things that were going on there, like potential like worlds being destroyed and like war, like she had to survive there.
Oh yeah,
with all the things that were going on. So we still don't know what that was.
I'm pretty sure that quantum realm is going to have some villains enter into our dimension. So that's just a no-brainer too.
Well, there was it was an Easter egg. I did see online that I didn't notice until somebody pointed out. Sorry, I can't give them the credit because I don't remember exactly who it was. But if you go back and watch
one of those sources,
not Ant-Man or Wasp, if you go back and watch Endgame when they're going through, Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you go back to when they were in the quantum realm and they were saving Janet Van Dyne, slow it down and you'll see a little bubble that has a little city in it. Now, no, for anybody from DC, that's not that little glass bubble that Brainiac has the worlds in. No, that's a different universe, not the quantum realm. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that world may be the world that Kang is from. So that's already been confirmed by some outlets online that Kang was in the quantum realm already. Like so if
like he's already just like Sylvie. Well, we'll get to her in a minute, but just like Sylvie's has been out and about doing her thing, that Kang the Conqueror already might be out and about doing his thing. Because essentially that's what all this is. The whole MCU since the beginning, it's just like the Saw movies. All this stuff is just supposed to have been connected and happening, you know.
Correct.
So we're just tuning in, but it's already in progress.
Now, again, I wonder how like things like it makes you start to speculate like what things will tie into this. We already know Quantumania, and we know Doctor Strange the 2 is going to fall right in line with Loki, but we don't know if the Eternals, because like my big question was, again, Marvel doesn't do anything for nothing. My thing was, well, the only close little bit of something you got of the Eternals is Guardians 1, where the Collector was showing the Power Stone, and he showed that, you know, he told the story about the stones as well as he told about the Celestials. And the only other Celestials that we know, and the only other worlds we know of that have to do with Celestials, was Thanos. Thanos is technically a deviant, which is one of the evil Eternals. But you'll learn more about that when.
Yeah. Also, the one thing that I always think about when all this shit goes down, especially the bigger event movies like the Avengers or the Endgame, is where were these people when this shit was going down? Like, I'm always curious and want to know, like, hey, what was going down? Remember when that whole apocalypse thing was happening? What was y'all? Y'all could have helped if you knew that was going on.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest question a lot of people are having. Like, well, these Eternals were like basically. Now I understand too. You know, they're saying like, and I know we're getting on Eternals, but whatever. It's all related. It's all related. The cool thing is that I'm pretty sure they're going to have a reasonable explanation for why they weren't there to be able to change things, other than the fact that it's just like, hey, we're gods. We don't get involved.
I want you know, one of these movies that connects to stuff. I wanted at least one character to be like, because I didn't want to. I just want somebody to be like, that was their problem. I didn't want to.
or here's something that may be controversial, but I'll take a line. Now remember, I'm saying these words. These are not my words. These words are from the craft, because I don't like Negroids.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. No, that's all right. They ain't doing nothing like that in this day and age. Ain't nothing like that going down in this
That to me is like, that's still one of those lines I was just like, okay, I didn't imagine when I was a teenager, when I was watching The Craft, that I was going to actually get a slight bit of racism right there. Like,
oh, wow. Like,
wow, okay.
Oh, wait. And then one last push my glasses back nerdy thing that I was thinking about earlier, and this is just an opinion. There's no truth to it. But
what is an opinion? We don't work for Marvel.
Because this situation is supposed to happen after the first Avengers movie. I just thought it was karma, the fact that Loki winds up at the TVA and he doesn't have his powers and all this other stuff. And a line that he said during Endgame, Avengers. Remember when he goes outside and he transforms and he has the horns and he's telling everybody to kneel? And I had to write this down because I got a shitty memory. But he literally talks about, human beings craving subjugation and leering to freedom, and what does he say? You crave subjugation. The bright leer of freedom diminishes your life's joy in a mad scramble for power, for identity. So I thought that was, and you were made to be ruled. That whole thing is so fucking like, yo, like if I'm correct, if I'm correct, and they took it that deep, the fact that now you fast forward to Loki watching himself on the television screen with tears in his eyes. He became human, just like you crave, and
he's still not necessarily human, but
and then his control is out of his hands. Like what's going on right now? He's not in control, like the same, and he's still scrambling for power. The same guy that's like, oh, glorious purpose, and I'm supposed to have this and that. He still ain't got it. And Mobius basically points that out to him in the first episode. Like, yeah, you tried doing all this stuff and it never worked out. You lost, like knew more than once.
You lose every time. Like you're meant to. This is something that I remember talking to a friend of ours in the show, Queen of the Universe. And she was like, that was a horrible thing to say to somebody, what Mobius said.
Sorry, your screen.
Yeah,
I
hit the button by mistake.
Mel Brooks. You pulled a Mel Brooks just now. I just saw your name.
Sorry, I used my Loki powers. The thing that she found to be a horrible line, and I know a lot of people sort of felt this. It didn't really bother me, which was the fact that his only purpose in life is to make it possible for other people to be great. Like, you're never meant to be great. Your job is to help other people be great. That's it. And it is like, wow, that's kind of a horrible thing to
that was a horrible moment. But it's also Disney too. So you think about someone telling you can't do it, or to quote Kevin Smith, see that mountain, never climb it. It's like, okay, dare to do it anyway. So I feel like that's, if someone's telling you can't change, you can. You don't have to listen.
I feel like everybody has a purpose in life. And this is, not to get too philosophical, but I feel like everybody has a purpose in life. So it does come to a place where they have a lot of the sort of philosophical conversations, especially in episode 2, where, Owen Wilson are sitting there and they're talking about fate. And whether things are predetermined.
Nice segue into episode 2, by the way.
Hey, say my first rodeo. It is kind of like it's kind of that they take that moment to whatever theory you believe, whatever you believe happens, afterwards, whatever religion you believe, that's all on you. But I like that they kind of take that approach of what everybody believes is determined. Like, if it's, sort of Loki questions whether or not it's okay for some organization to basically determine whether or not somebody making a choice to do something should be eliminated from the timeline because it doesn't fit into this whole big grand purpose,
especially when the fucking Avengers did it like crazy to change history. Like, what? Like, how are you gonna be like, okay, Loki took this Tesseract and he disappeared, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna change some stuff. You're like, oh, wait, you can't do that. But it was okay for the Avengers to literally go back in time, get the stone. Like, they did, what they did was worse, in my opinion. Like, yo, they literally they changed the shit out of some stuff.
I love the fact that they put that on, that's smart writing to me in episode 1, where they put that on Front Street, which is, hey, we know in terms of the first guys that you met that went fucking around with the quantum realm to make it possible for them to actually fix what Thanos did or undo what he did is them. So there should be the ones that's on trial, which begs a very important thing to look at, which is it kind of looks at the TVA in a different light, because it's like, oh, so you're not these all-seeing people who are like, wait a minute, that thing you did is a part of the grand purpose. It's closer to what, taking it back to Civil War and what Captain America was saying, it takes it more back to the whole you being somebody being used for someone else's agenda.
Yeah.
So the TVA feels like, in my opinion, the sacred timeline, this is just me speculating with my own theory, the sacred timeline that exists, that the timekeepers are holding in that little cartoon in the first episode, everything that the TVA does pretty much is protecting that whole timeline. And I think the grander thing is that they're not protecting that timeline for anything other than similar to what Doctor Strange saw when they were like, how many, in Endgame, how many, out of a million different scenarios, how many do we win? Is it possible that the timekeepers could have seen all of these other different, variations of, multiverses that exist and basically decided this one being merged together like this is going to be canon, essentially. We're going to make sure that this is canon. Oh, yeah. Anything that goes out of canon, we're going to use the TVA to shut that shit down. That's essentially
a sense too, with Marvel having speculation of bringing characters like Null to life and other bad guys. It could ultimately, like if we in the show, if we get to see the timekeepers and they're actually these giant lizard guys or whatever, you could find out too that if the timelines and multiverses or stuff are all fucked up, that it could unleash a big bad that they maybe have had trapped for thousands of years or something like that. So
Right.
yeah, it could be like, all right, you know what? Sorry you got to die, Loki, but if you don't die and this and that doesn't happen in that specific way, Satan is released on the earth. You know what I mean? Type of deal. Well, I guess in the Marvel universe, it'd be, what's the name?
No, there was a Satan,
Mephisto, who fans have been wanting forever, which I feel like has been like, I don't know why, but like even ever since WandaVision with like the red smoke with the flamingo, and even in Loki with the fire surrounding the secret variant, which we'll talk about in a second, and you know, and the picture, the devil picture in the hallway when Mobius is talking with the little boy. I feel
Who
like
do you think the little boy is, by the way?
The little. I think maybe that might be Kid Loki.
Yeah, that's what.
But I'm like, I just feel like they've been giving us these subtle hints to Mephisto. So I wonder if ultimately they are building up to, like, they're teasing the shit out of fans. Like, yeah, he ain't in this series. He ain't in this series. He ain't in it. But it's somewhere down the line, he is the big bad. Or if you think about that whole, like you said, with them trying to preserve the timeline, if the timeline gets fucked up to shit, is that who's going to be released?
Wait a minute. I think there's actually another term for that timeline gets fucked up to shit. Something about a multiverse of madness. That's what it is. Like, she even said it. It's like, if the timeline is not preserved, there'll be madness. And I'm like,
yeah.
So are you referring to the multiverse of madness?
And I'm wondering, like, if that happens, if Mephisto is one of the big bad, is one of many big bads. We know Kang, so I wonder if it's going to be more than one big bad that the bad guys have. The good guys have to.
So, in my opinion, you got to, just because if you're going to, like, I feel like with the MCU and what they're doing. Again, they're not recreating anything other than just kind of looking to the comics as sort of a bit of guidance, not like exact word for word, but guidance. If you introduce an idea of something to your audience, it gives them the foundation they need to believe when you go beyond and do something else. Like, I've said this to you before. They built the MCU on Earth. They built the world. They had, hey, this guy's over here in New York. Hey, this guy's over here in Texas. Hey, this guy's over here doing this. Hey, this guy's doing that. And they're boom, boom, boom. Okay, you've established this. They expanded it a little more. All right, we're going to take it further. We're going to bring you to space, Guardians of the Galaxy. And we're going to show you space and time and all of these different things. And it's like, oh, you ready? All right, cool. Now we're going to really mess with your head. You ready? Astroplane. Like, just like whole other dimensional situation. So it's like something that's possibly in between the Earth world or planets and space and time and like all that stuff. So now you have that built as your foundation. And basically now, in my opinion, what they're doing is they're going back small and going back out further and further and further back through those channels we already built. They already built Earth. They built space. They built dimensions. Is it so weird? So I'll give you a great example. Fantastic Four is coming, right? What is one of Fantastic Four? Let's take Dr. Doom off the table. He'll be there. But what if one of Fantastic Four's greatest villains besides the Fantastic Four?
Wait, the Fantastic Four's greatest
Fantastic villain? Four. I'll give you a hint. He's got a little silver dude on a board that is his hero.
Oh, you're talking about Galactus.
Correct. Now, going back to Eternals and the Celestials. The Celestials are just ginormous, like almost planet-sized.
Oh, we're definitely gonna get Silver Surfer, by the way, because they got to make up for what we saw before. I
didn't think that was so bad, but I know what you mean, though.
I thought he was just pretty lame. That's me. Like that was just like, I'm pretty sure they can bring a harder, awesomer version of the Silver Surfer.
I'm gonna tell you something right now, and I hope that this comes true. My pick for the Silver Surfer, just because of the way that I hear Silver Surfer in my head when I read comics, I would like Keanu Reeves to be Silver Surfer. Just for that monotone, like
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves. I need John Wick on the board, because you gotta think about it. Like, he can get mad and he yells and he's a little bit louder, but for the most part, he's very monotone. So he has to be a guy, like, and just to be a little nerd for a second, he's already like been in situations or movies where he has had that sort of monotone, you know, and he's like the bad guy, or
the
whatever.
Matrix,
like the Matrix, or his Man of Tai Chi, and those sort of things. Like, he's had those things. And then the one thing we haven't seen in a really long time, except for the Matrix, was Keanu Reeves bald. Keanu Reeves bald, we saw when he first woke up in the Matrix, like this. So imagine like putting him in that whole thing and then having him come to you like, I am the herald of Galactus. Like, he has the voice and and just that weird monotone. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but your world must be devoured for my herald. Like, he has that, like,
this is just a parody version of Silver Surfer, just because you made me think of, like, Silver Surfer shows up, he's in this awesome scene, dope music, he walks forward, and his voice is Gilbert Godfrey. Hey, guys! Hey! Sorry. This guy's coming to devour Earth. We need you to get out. Like, wait, what? Oh,
I can't sit through that. I'll be like, yeah, I can't see it. I can't see this in no theater, man.
They missed the opportunity for Rocket Raccoon's voice to be like Gilbert Godfrey or somebody too.
Oh, thank God they didn't, man. What in the hell? It was fine for Iago. You know what? Where they missed the opportunity was the Aladdin live action movie was good. But they missed the opportunity in using that bird. They decided to just do a giant bird sequence where they're running from a giant. Whatever. It happened. The movie's good, but that was weird.
But you know who didn't miss the opportunity? Loki with episode 2. Loki at episode 2. That shit went from 0 to 100 real quick, like Drake. Like, it went real quick, because they at the second episode, I was not expecting them to reveal the mystery variant Loki so fast. I thought,
wow, it's only 6 episodes. How many episodes you got to reveal?
I was thinking they're gonna do the old school method of we weren't gonna find out who that person was till the last episode, but nope. We learned who it was very quickly in the second episode, and she did something very catastrophic. Which was what were those little bombs called that she sent? In the whole episode, bombs. You find out like she's been fucking up and killing the TVA agent so she could steal their little bombs.
Has she though? Has she?
I mean, and that could be a trick too. But they could be throwing. Imagine they're throwing us off. That would be awesome. I'm pretty sure there's more twists and stuff coming.
Here's my let me push my glasses. Here's my reason why I don't believe that she is the one that they're chasing, for the reasons that seem to be a bit confusing. Going back and recently watching the episodes, if you go back to the first time we ever see her, right? What was that? The end of episode 1?
End of episode
where you see her in the
she has the cloak and she kills the guards, and she's surrounded by a ring of fire.
Pay close attention to that moment there, because the dialogue of the guy that comes there, that one of the TVA agents, is very important, but more important because people who make these movies and TV shows don't put things in front of your face for nothing. The first shot when they're coming into that realm is what? This futuristic looking shovel. Like what? Yeah. What? It's like, what is this?
The shovel in the ground. Yeah, they ain't really touch you on that though, did they?
Now you're thinking the way that they put it. Oh, well, that thing must have something to do with her. But take it back. If you go back and when we're done with this, if you go back and watch it, take it all the way back to the scene that same guy who seems to be just guy who's just filled with exposition, same black TVA agent is with Owen Wilson's character Mobius, and they're in the church before they meet the little kid.
Yeah.
And they say him. They refer to him. They don't refer to Sylvie, who essentially they may know is the variant that they're chasing, but they refer to him. Now that could be a throw off where they're thinking, because we fought a bunch of Lokis, all of these Lokis are going to be males. But it also could mean that they're chasing something like, I don't know, Kang the Conqueror. That's who I think that shovel belongs to. it looks way too futuristic. And then I'm looking at Sylvie, the female Loki here. I'm looking at her and I'm like, where's
I don't think we ever said that, but yeah, episode 2 is revealed to be Sylvie, the female.
Her name is Sylvie. Where is that shovel? Where's that weapon? And where did she get that from? Because it just seems to me that what she did was she showed up at a moment where they were showing up for something else. And she just killed them at an opportune moment. Because think about it. If they're chasing her, what is she going to go, oh, you know what? Let me go hide in the bushes.
Yeah.
And then set them on fire. If she just shows up at the point in time where they're focused on something else, where they're like, hey, there's somebody over here. Some idiot must have done some time travel or something and like tried to get rich off of oil or something. Let's set the charge and like destroy this whole thing. So somebody else who potentially is the owner of that shovel, somebody else is, when those agents come in there, see, I love the way they like put the camera, they're coming for somebody else. They're not coming for the person in the cloak. They don't even know the person in the cloak is there. And if you go back to it, what do they keep saying? Somebody is ambushing our agent. Yeah. It's not a matter of like I'm showing up and I'm like, where's Ronnie? And then if I show up and Samuel Jackson's in the corner like with a gun and I'm like, no, boom, shoot me. I didn't know he was there. I was looking for Ronnie.
It's like this person knows that they're coming.
Somebody knows that they're like that person is gone before anything.
You're saying that Sylvie could be just a throw, like she has a purpose and they're gonna keep explaining that, but that she could also be a distraction for something else that's going on.
I'm gonna tell you just like this. This is my theory for Sylvie, and I know we didn't get to episode 3 yet, but this is my theory for Sylvie, who they introduced in the second episode. And they give you a little bit more of a conversation with her and a little bit more about her in the third episode. My theory for her is that she is, if my multiverse theory of basically take a step outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a second and think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe as this thing, like as nerds, we're all, of different ages, somewhere between like 18 and 50, right?
18 and 50. I'd say 18 and I'd say 85. Sure, there's some hardcore Marvel fans out there like 80, like hell yeah, I can't wait for the next.
All right, so what's the 18 to 85, right? So if you think about in the timeline, in the multiverse or the world of us going to the theaters or sitting in front of our TV and watching movies, right? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Answer me this. Is the Marvel Cinematic Universe the first Marvel movie you've seen?
No.
It's a universe that just like sort of dawned and expanded, and we all just took our focus off of whatever these other guys are doing and shifted all of our focus directly here. That doesn't mean that these other universes, like, think about it. When you look at it from a like human being on a meta point of a human being watching these movies, did we not get multiple X-Men movies in Fox and multiple Spider-Man movies? A sucky one called Amazing Spider-Man 2. Did we not get all of these?
Now you're making me think, like, I know it's a little off topic, but you're also making me excited too, because I'm thinking about the fact that, I know that we're gonna get a Blade, we're gonna get another Blade Ali. But I also remember that Wesley Snipes met with Marvel and had a meeting that he said went really well, and then that was it. He didn't tell us anything else. He just said, "Oh man, I wish Mahershala well," and he didn't tell us anything else. So I'm like, okay. But he said he had a good meeting, so they talked about something.
So think about that with my theory. I'll use Blade, right? So Blade, if Blade existed in another multiverse that's separate, technically right now he exists separate of the separate of the MCU, because Wesley Snipes currently at this moment in time that we speak is not a part of the MCU.
He's not a part of the MCU. I'm gonna just tell you right now for the record that if there's a chance that, like, let's say Mahershala, I have a high feeling that Mahershala is gonna kill it as Blade as well, because he has the look and style and he's a good actor. But if I am able to see Wesley Snipes and Mahershala Ali on the screen at the same time, fighting his Blade against
Nosebleed
monsters or whatever. Yeah, that's just I don't know if I
bleeding from the eyes.
Bleeding out the eye. This is awesome.
Now, wait. Now, here out my theory, right? So, using that same thing, I'm with you. I want to see that happen, and I think that they're going to do it. In my opinion, I feel like with all of these multiverses that have happened, from a real world standpoint, Disney has spent billions of dollars on Fox. They're in bed with Sony or in association with Sony. They are friends with Universal, so they can keep doing Hulk projects and stuff like that. Essentially, to me, Disney is basically the sacred timekeepers trying to force all these multiverses into one sacred timeline.
Because, we just learned too, there's a lot of speculation. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but it's a lot of speculation that, they updated Abomination and he may appear in Shang-Chi. So even just the fact
he's definitely, that has definitely been confirmed that is Abomination. And he's got the winged ears because that's what he looks like in the comics. So they're going more comic accurate as opposed to Universal accurate, which is just some bald dude with spikes.
And then it's the same thing with Venom. Like when you can't think of Venom without thinking of Spider-Man. So I'm like, wait, Abomination is here? You can't think of Abomination without Hulk. Is there a chance that in the future we might see Hulk and Abomination in the same movie? Okay.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and spoil that for you. Tim Roth has already been confirmed to be in the She-Hulk TV show, and so is what's his face?
We know Mark
Ruffalo.
We know.
So they're both in the show. I don't imagine at some point that if this is the same guy that's from that movie, that he's not going to immediately remember the guy that he had a fight with in Harlem. Pretty sure that's going to be a thing. So,
you know how we do when we're excited. Okay, all right. So
cool. That's what you gotta do. I'm good. I'll
be over here. Okay.
So, in all of this talk of multiverses and stuff like that they're doing with Loki, it's coming in a perfect time too as well, because at the end of the year we get No Way Home, and all of the speculation and all of the some people confirm, some people I don't know what you're talking about, NDAs. We're supposed to be getting a Spider-Man movie that might potentially have 3 Spider-Mans in it, including Tobey Maguire.
And you know what's funny? Because Marvel is Marvel, Marvel Studios, I feel like if all those rumors turn out to be true, that ain't even it. I feel like something even bigger is coming that we may not even know.
So wait, hold on. What you're saying is there's a possibility that Marvel MCU might actually make a Tobey Maguire movie, and we get a 4th Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. What?
Which brings us home to what? Which brings us home to what do you call it? Episode 3 of Loki, where we found out that the TVA as a whole. Well, I feel like most fans speculated this shit for sure, that the TVA is not what it seems to be. And then she confirmed it by saying, what about, what was it? I don't remember exactly, but he asked her something about a character. You might remember. And then she said, oh, yeah, but that person wasn't like that before the TVA. And then Loki was like, wait, what do you mean before the TVA? I was told that the TVA always existed.
He was talking about the girl that she was going through her mind.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
She was talking about
security officer.
Her name specifically in the credits is C20, because she's a variant C20 or whatever. That's
I can't forget that actress. She was the one that had the weird shit come out of her mouth in Hellboy, in the new Hellboy they made. I'm like, I don't know what that.
We don't speak of that Hellboy.
Look, love the actress. Look, I love the actress, but that was weird as shit.
Wait, now one thing I want to say real quick about the Loki show. Is it ironic that so far we've gotten 2 actors that are in the MCU that will at some time possibly cross paths with each other as different characters that was in Lovecraft Country? Because the chick that is the security guard that slapped the shit out of him, and then you got Jonathan Majors, who is supposed to be Kang. So it's
I'm wondering, are we gonna? Well, I know that's like a rule of thumb. I think that now that's you like to talk about tropes. I know that is a trope within superhero movies where you have to show somebody's face, because I was wondering if they plan to show his face, or is he just gonna have a helmet with with all the glowing But I was like, you know what? Thinking about superhero movies in general, they always at some point do something or make or drive the story somewhere where they have to show this person's face. So we probably will see him as Jonathan Majors.
I mean, you don't choose a guy like Jonathan Majors who has a significant face, and like, you know, you just let you know. Here's what you don't do. You don't make the mistake of having Idris Elba in your Star Trek movie and put a bunch of fucking prosthetic makeup on him and turn him into a monster. Like,
now the other thing connecting Kang the Conqueror to the Loki and, you know, all that stuff, I'm still wondering, like, okay, we know Jonathan Majors is a black guy. And I know that I haven't read all the comics, but I do know that there's a storyline where Kang the Conqueror turns out to be the father of Reed Richards. So I'm like, so is there a possibility we get a black Reed Richards, or are they going to play around with that as well?
At this point, we're not really sure, just because we don't know.
Or is this Kang the Conqueror totally separate, and they're gonna like do a whole new kind of storyline with that with the Fantastic Four?
So I will tell you right now, because I have it written here in my notes. There are at least about 8 different variations in the comics of Kang the Conqueror. So at least within the last like 25 years, there's been at least various different ones. So they got a lot to choose from.
Okay, so like every other character, they can just choose a different version.
Can I just point out the simple fact that it is no coincidence, Marvel, that at this point you've literally, excluding the Hawkeye show, which is coming later this year, you literally within like less than 2 years have already built the Young Avengers team. And guess who the first villain of the Young Avengers team is, Ronnie? Wonder who the villain is.
Yeah, I forgot. I know
it's Kang the Conqueror.
Kang the Conqueror.
Like, I'm just like, wow, guys. Wow. Now, somehow you're going to have to explain that whole, like, those 2 kids that was in WandaVision don't no longer exist, but somehow they're going to exist again and be a part of Young Avengers at some point in time. I don't know when they're doing Young Avengers, but that's going to be easy peasy. They're going to figure that out. I have no doubt that they will have the writers to put that.
Either that or Wanda really gonna wind up sleeping with somebody. I mean,
I don't think they're gonna wind up with those powers if they do that. Like because I think
the Conqueror gonna show up like, Wanda, you was looking good in that red outfit in the WandaVision. Come here, girl.
Now, I'll give you two of the. So that's one Kang the Conqueror that's very recent. Another Kang the Conqueror that they did on one of my favorite animated shows that they did was Earth's Mightiest Heroes with the Avengers, which was Kang the Conqueror is coming back through time using the same thing that the Avengers did, fucking around with time, and his goal is to come and stop the Avengers, because essentially what the Avengers have done in their realm of saving the day dooms his future. Yeah. So now he's a time traveler whose job, and I believe it's specifically, if I'm not mistaken, it's specifically, I think, Captain America that he needs to kill in order to like save his time or whatever. So it kind of gives him that like that Thanos sort of, I understand what you're doing. I know you're crazy and you're going about this the wrong way. But I find that it's very common that some of the most popular villains in the MCU, the ones that stick around in people's hearts, like Loki, like Killmonger, like Thanos, and now potentially Kang the Conqueror, are typically what I would consider sympathetic villains.
Even Zemo, when you think about
Zemo.
It. He was
exactly, right? So it's always that villain that's like, well, you're going about this the wrong way. Absolutely. But I get why you're doing what you're doing, because, you know.
Even though they're wrong and this is very terrible, there is some reasoning to why someone would even think of trying to do that. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Even Killmonger, who I'm like, as he's saying his plan of what he wants to do, I'm like, well, he's not wrong, but my man, that's genocide.
No, that's homicide. Not
homicide and genocide. This dude was like,
I'm going to activate all of these Wakandan soldiers that are all around and basically go around and give weapons to black people, and we're going to murder and
we're going to murder everyone. We're going to murder everyone else who basically isn't black. I'm like, I just needed a character to tap him on the shoulder. You know who I needed? I needed Hustle Man from Martin. I needed Tracy Morgan to tap him on the shoulder. Yo, Chief. Yo, that's wrong, yo. We can't do that.
We can't do that. That's not going to.
Can't do that.
No, that's not going to work.
That ain't gonna happen. That's not right.
You know why I think that an MCU version of X. Now, speaking of those villains and like going around Loki and looking at how essentially villains are the best villains in the MCU are sort of humanized, but also given an interesting backstory. I think for me personally, I'm dying to see what a writer in the MCU can do with Magneto, because he's, in my opinion, is one of the best sympathetic villains that you literally go, this guy just cares about his people in that sense. He's like, I care about my people, and I think it's wrong that you're enslaving my, like, if you really wanted to, like, I know I've had this debate with Queen of the Universe and a few other people about, changing the, nationality of like
the race, like making the race, or different,
making a different race. I would say that thinking of it from a mutant standpoint and the whole like oppression of people for being just what they are, that whole thing really, if you're looking at specifically from like American history or like, certain history, obviously it goes to people that look more so like me and you, like in that sense, right? So if you make him that, I understand how you can go, well, instead of mutants, he's actually just saying, a cover up for, Black people or whatever, that is or whatnot. So I think that I wouldn't do it, but I'm not mad if they do it. I am not going to check a box and go do it because that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
because I just so whatever you decide to make them, as long as the
just because we're on that subject for a second, if you casted a Black Magneto, what actor? Any actors come to mind that you would pick to play Magneto? I'm like, I feel like I'm drawing a blank on that one, but I mean, unless Denzel wanted to get into to the Marvel Cinematic,
for me. Denzel's not the guy.
Or is he too good? He's like, all right, he too good. We can't have somebody who just gonna outshine everybody else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I will say this: it is hard for me to choose. It is hard. I will say that I would.
Oh, you know what? I got one guy, and it's only if I don't think they would choose him, and he might be too young, if depending on what. But I was thinking of the guy from Watchmen, the Black guy that played, what's his name? Oh, God, what the hell? I'm drawing a blank. The guy that's going to be Candyman.
Oh, Yaya?
Yeah, Yaya. And the Black Mantis dude. Like, I would think if you were going with somebody in his age range, I think he might make a good actor that would be Magneto.
That, to me, is interesting. But I will say that's why I was going to say, I would say I would have a list of different actors, Black actors, only because, or just actors in general, for him based on the time frame in his life that you put him in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you're gonna, depending on the time that he would probably make a good. I think he would make a good Magneto.
I'm gonna tell you somebody who's on my list that I'm pretty sure that you're not gonna have on your list. Michael Fassbender, man, he did a great job.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I was saying. No, I was saying, like, if they're continuing forward, then yeah, Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender. I don't care. Like,
I mean, it's the same way, like how we want Wesley Snipes as Blade, and and like I said, if we get Ghost Rider again, I have no problem with it still being Nicolas Cage, because I think he did a good job.
I like Nicolas Cage, but here's what I'm gonna say: Nicolas Cage, to me, would be an interesting one that you could choose. But I'm going to be honest and say, I'm not going to say, I want to see another Ghost Rider, but the actor
if it's not Nicolas Cage, two actors that I know you said Keanu Reeves for Silver Surfer. I think Keanu Reeves would be awesome as Ghost Rider. I'd also think Norman Reedus would be awesome as Ghost Rider.
Ooh, Norman Reedus would be interesting. He likes motorcycles for real. And we've seen him on a motorcycle already. So yeah, he would be definitely interesting. I would put him on my list. I'm gonna be honest. There's a large list of people to play him because for me, like whoever you get to play him for Johnny Blaze, it's not really like I will say this. I'm not a big fan of Ghost Rider in the comics. I love the design of the character. I love different elements of the character, but I'm kind of very impartial to who plays him. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I will give a shout out to Gabriel Lunes because he played Robbie Reyes in the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. version, and he did a great job. Again, I'm not like I like that actor. You know, I think he did a better job at Ghost Rider than he did for Terminator Dark Fate because he was just a carbon copy of.
I'm like, if you could see my poster, I'm like, I don't know. I actually love that movie. I feel like I might be the only. I didn't hate that movie. I might be the only person who didn't have a problem at all with Terminator Dark Fate. I mean, I thought that was an awesome movie.
I went to I went to a screening for that movie, and when I left the theater, this is exactly what I said for that movie. Very simply put, that movie seems to me like it was made because somebody had that idea as a fan fiction, and they said, I could make this and not put Terminator name on it, and this would be dope. And James Cameron's like, no, wait. Let me get my wallet. Here, take this. I'm gonna make that movie. You coming over here with your good ideas. Get out of here. Get out of here. We're not gonna do it. So obviously there was some problems I had with the movie in terms of the the character that they're trying to like sort of retcon as like a John Connor type of character. I wasn't a believer of that character. Not to say that I believed in the original.
This may sound fucking terrible, but I found the beginning to be fucking hilarious. That fucking blew John Connor away. Like, yeah, we done with that storyline. We done with that storyline for real. Blah.
I was like, wow. Yeah. Like, so that's what that to me is my like the movie as a whole was just as good as like a decent Fast and the Furious movie, which if anybody's seen F9, it's F9. That's the best way I can describe it.
Bringing it back to Loki, to bring it all home back to Loki, the third episode, what was it? The third episode had some very strong Doctor Who vibes and then kind of ended on a question mark because I think Loki and Sylvie kind of get stuck because the machine that they use to get back and forth through the different portals or whatever gets destroyed. So they're stuck in like
it did get destroyed.
Yeah, it got destroyed and they're like stuck in this doomsday situation and the camera kind of just pans out, kind of like, oh shit, now what? We know, I mean, obviously we know they don't die. There's fucking 3 more episodes, dude. So
I have a couple of theories on that. One, I don't think the thing got destroyed. Nope, don't.
I think it did get destroyed. I think that Mobius is going to show up and save them. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. And in the end of it, because I've noticed that throughout these 3 episodes, they make a point to give you some exposition that usually plays out later on in that episode or another episode. Which the one you're talking about with Mobius is most of the time you can find this variant at an apocalypse event that's about to happen. That's where they usually hide out because this thing's going to happen. Yeah, so the thing actually happened in front of their eyes, and it seems like all is lost. But in actuality, they're going to be saved because Mobius remembers what Loki said, which is they hang out at.
Yeah, he was the character. Yeah, he was the only other character that got that information. So yeah, he's probably going to be the one to show up and save. Also, someone pointed out to me in terms of time travel and stuff with the Avengers. I don't know if it has any connection at all. But somebody pointed out to me that when Tony Stark, when he was fumbling around to try to create a way to go back in time and stuff, that it was called like Mobius something.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm like,
in science it's called the Mobius loop.
Yeah, I'm like, I wonder if that's gonna come back and have any connection to Loki as well.
I think that it could just be a cute little nod to physics, because that's what they literally hired physicists to give like the best. This is what you do with Disney money. Okay, when you got Disney money, you can hire physicists to come in and make a fake movie around there so that people can go, like Disney could go, well, fight my science. I got physicists.
I mean, they did that on the Big Bang Theory. There was nothing but physicists that they were taking a lot of the stuff that those characters talk about, formulas and stuff. Like if you Google it, it's actual real like physicist formulas.
Like, man, they did their homework. This is crazy. I just think that too, like for me, in my opinion, I think that we have yet to see what that moment. There was a moment in episode 2 where they're talking about the different variants that they've already like captured or defeated. And there was a moment where Loki, being the guy that he is, corrected them on the difference between like illusions and like duplications. So that's why I'm thinking like that would play out really well, because she might look at it and go, "You destroyed it," and literally behind his back, he's got his magic. Like he's rocking around with his magic.
But I'm still wondering too, even with that, I feel like I'm wondering, does it matter which dimension he's in with his magic? Because I feel like he's not using it as much as he could be. So I'm wondering
here's the thing. He did use it in episode 3, because if you go back to it, he did literally hit somebody with a green projectile.
Yeah,
like, he legit like used it.
He used it, but I feel like we've seen him do like worser things to people in the. Oh, and this is just totally sidebar that I was thinking before we even did this call. I was like, you know who's really pissed off at this whole time travel thing? The fucking guy who Loki took his eye in Avengers. Like, so y'all stop there? So y'all stop at the Tesseract. He couldn't have came back to the fucking scene right before, so he didn't fucking murder me and take my eye?
It couldn't do it just because it doesn't deviate from the. Like, it's funny because I feel
funny if that guy could show up from heaven or hell, like, hey,
with the one eye, like, come on, man.
TVA, I got a bone to pick with y'all, so y'all couldn't have took him before he took my fucking eye and murdered me?
I'm pretty sure he's dead, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'm pretty sure he's dead. Like that giant thing drilling your eyeball out of your head and scanning it. Like, yeah, that's death. To me, I feel like that little scene in Endgame where Hulk and the what the heck was the name? Not the Beyonder, the girl, the one that was Tilda Swinton
from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what she was called. What was it called?
The shit. Now you got me like.
I was about to say the Great One. For the sake of the show, we'll say the Great One. She was talking.
Okay, the Great One. I'm gonna look it up. The Great One.
So when he was having that conversation, she explained essentially this show. She basically said the reason why
the ancient one.
The ancient one. I knew it was something. The one like the ancient. I was close to it. The Great One is the Rock, but this is the ancient one. Explained literally, if you watch that scene again, she's like, but if you deviate from that time, there was a big black line that came out of that one long line. You know that long line? The secret timeline. Like that's exactly what it was. And so the reason why what the Avengers to answer all of the people who are like, well, Loki shouldn't be punished because the Avengers did. They're right. They literally did it the smart way, which is they literally, if you think about if I was sitting here and let's say this is the device, I'm at the TVA and I'm looking at my device and I'm going, wait a second, these guys are deviating from the path. By the time the Avengers were finished and Captain America went back down, that line would have essentially just pruned itself. That's what the Avengers figured out, which is they didn't know about the TVA, but without knowing, all they did is said, if I go in and mess with time, but make sure, like if I go in and borrow something from another time period, like a stone, and bring it to this time frame, snap it, and then take those stones and bring them back to that time back there, then I'm not actually whatever event that occurred because of the Avengers was basically brought back down to the main line once what they needed for that timeline, that darker timeline to happen, to be gone. I know I've lost people with this time travel shit.
Look, repeat that? I didn't hear none of that.
Because that's what I was trying to explain this to somebody, and they just like, yo, man, I should
this stuff is,
to watch this show.
I'm sure this stuff is gonna get crazy, and but I trust 10 plus years of excellent movies and storytelling. I'm sure that they're gonna handle time travel well, and even the shit that we think is coming. I feel like if Kevin Feige was somewhere behind behind closed doors, he's like, they think they don't even know.
They don't even know what's coming.
They don't even know what's really coming. You gotta just connect. You just gotta connect. Like we're seeing, like, because I also think about the fact that, like, all right, on in WandaVision and Loki, we're talking about multiverses and stuff like that. But then you go to Falcon and Winter Soldier, where I never remember her name, the Contessa, whatever.
Val?
The chick from. I still remember the line that she said after John Walker put on the U.S. agent outfit, and she's like, "How's it fit?" And then he's like, and she said, "Okay, things are gonna get a little weird, but I need you to, hang on." Like, I still feel like that we still don't even know what's coming from that, and even in that, and even.
I'm calling it Thunderbolts. It just it makes all the sense because of the simple fact that he's going to be U.S. agent, and you have a ton of Marvel villains all in one place called the prison. When the person who's in charge, the Wrath, you got the Wrath, and the person who's in charge of the Thunderbolts is Thunderbolt Ross. We've already seen him there. We already know that
we've seen him there, and we know that he's still part of the MCU. So, yep.
I want to point out something with it, and I know that this is me. Just being me, but I'm gonna put something up on the screen and then see if, like, oh damn it. Okay, wait. Now I'm gonna put something up on the screen that relates to this. Now can you see that?
Yep, TVA.
Wait a second, Ron. Are you ready for it? Let's turn it. But shoot, start it. Okay, I'll flip it the other way.
I see what you're saying. It says Val.
Ooh. I'm just like, that. Now that I'm pretty freaking sure.
Now that, I mean, of course, this is all speculation, but could you imagine?
Look, I just turned it upside down. Val.
Could you imagine, though, if that has some type of connection to everything else?
Val is the one. She's Mephisto.
She's Mephisto. Well, at this point, we just speculate everybody to be Mephisto. Be like, is a variant Loki running around? That's Mephisto. Like, all right, now that ain't King the Conqueror. That's Mephisto. Like, what about the mailman? That's Mephisto.
So to wrap up our recap of the basically the midterm of Loki, which is we're halfway through this whole 6-episode series. I'm gonna be honest in terms of like a review. I am watching this because I like Tom Hiddleston and I like Owen Wilson, but this definitely has a slower burn than the two other shows. I was caught up in the puzzle box of WandaVision.
Yeah,
I was caught up in the action and the drama of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And this one, I'm just watching to see what happens with the multiverse.
It has a slower burn, but I feel like it's also because of the character. Like, Loki is like, his personality has a charm and, a charisma to him that matches the show and the pacing they're going. And also, what do you call it? Oh God, I got a brain fart. What's her name? Sylvie?
Sylvie.
I feel like there's also going to be another big twist with her as well. Like, because I also keep thinking about the fact that, like,
do you know who Sylvie is, by the way?
If she is indeed, another variation of Loki, we also got to remember that, Lokis are all mischievous and stuff. So
correct.
She's still, even though we're getting to know her backstory, well, a little bit, I feel like we didn't learn that much. We learned more about Loki in the last episode than her. So she's still not said a lot. So we're still going to probably learn more about her in the next episode. But I still feel like she could still want to twist in a knife in Loki's back and fucking betraying him. So I'm not beat right now.
I
like it. But so far I like it. And it has a lot of Doctor Who vibes in it too, to me, especially that last episode. Because Doctor Who as a whole, that show literally deals with the main character and his sidekick going to multiple different time periods, from like ancient Egypt to this place. They go forward in time. We have to go to the year 3006 and stop an apocalypse. Like, they go back and forth through different timelines.
So what you're saying is Doctor Who could have prevented the Tulsa massacre, huh?
Whoa, I don't know.
But apparently he got there and what was happening in Watchmen was happening. So he just backed out like, I'm out of this.
Like, whoa. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but
I fight aliens and things.
Yeah, he like,
I don't fight
aliens and monsters and shit.
Bye, y'all. Do you know, quick question before I ask you about any Easter eggs you might have found, but do you know who Sylvie is? Like, do you know anything about her?
What do you mean? Nothing other than that small little commercial I seen.
So Sylvie is a character in the Marvel comic universe. She is her own character. Like, she is a character that is a part of the Young Avengers.
Oh, she is a character.
She is a character. So, like, I know a lot of people are like, I tell you what, the first appearance of Loki turning into a female in the comics shot up in value. You can go on eBay.
Oh yeah, that was the one. It was. I think they were saying like, when Lady Loki inhabits the body of Lady Sif or something like that?
No, well, in the comics, he was reincarnated as a female. That book, particularly when that happened, shot up in value. But then when people heard her name,
they're all shooting up in value now. Anything that says Lady Loki, I wish I had it in front of me,
but I just bought a whole pile of Loki comics.
Any freaking storyline that said Lady Loki is just like, yeah. Wait, that was $12. Nah, that's $200, sir.
But here's the problem now, right? That is a lie because Sylvie is not Lady Loki. That's not Lady Loki. I will tell you.
Well, I say not yet because sometimes they do deviate from the comics, so they could potentially
she literally has a name.
I'm just saying, like, they could say, hey, in this version, she's Lady Loki. But yeah, because I agree with you because of the last episode where I was thinking, like, the conversation that she had with Loki, she did a situation where she got him to talk more about him and background of him, but she didn't reveal that much about herself. So yeah, you could be right. She could turn out to be, I know speculation of her being Enchantress and other characters. She could turn out to be somebody else.
Can I just say from episode 3, I'm going to tell you like this. My opinion of what the MCU is going to do, when I agree with you in terms of retconning a character, in my opinion, she is going to be the MCU's Enchantress because the Enchantress essentially doesn't really have a name. She's the Enchantress. So the reason I say that, go back and watch episode 3 and literally do a drinking game with whatever drink you want. How many times they say the word enchanted or like they just keep saying it.
Even in dialogue, when the first time he called her Loki, she was like, don't call me that. Well, like, that's not my name.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, that was one of those things where I believe they have given her a definition.
Well, yeah, that could be direct dialogue to say, like, I'm not Loki.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, she's like, I go by Sylvie, and I'm like, if you go now, if anybody's looking for it, it's the Dark Reign Young Avengers. That's the first appearance of Sylvie.
Yeah, good luck.
Lady Loki character.
Yeah, good luck finding that for a good price.
No. See, here's the thing. If you go look on eBay right now, maybe it'll go up. But so the last time I checked,
it may go up from people watching this right now.
I'm trying to give you free money here, guys. For the thing is that if you go on there right now, that book is only like $12. Because people are like, it's Lady Loki. I'm not believing it. It's Lady Loki.
You know what? And if it goes up in value because of us, then hell yeah, that's fucking awesome.
I literally just bought 2 copies of the book today for regular cover price because why? Nobody's paying attention to. There's a character in Young Avengers that was trained by Loki in terms of the powers and is the Lady Loki of the Young Avengers, and I'm like, if you don't think that they're doing the Young Avengers at some point in time, you're not paying attention to the simple fact that they have literally cast everybody except for the Hulkling. That's the only, and I'm going to tell you right now, I got a theory for that too. Speculation on that. Do you know who Hulkling is while I'm saying this?
Hulkling. I've heard of him. Don't really. We are definitely entering the realm of stuff if I read it.
You don't know the Young Avengers.
No. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the Young Avengers. I'm just saying in general, like all the stuff that they're doing in MCU now, which I mean, pretty sure it's on purpose, that we're leaving territory of comic stuff that I was familiar with. So even I have to go back to the comic book store, like, wait, who is that again? And go back and read. But I think that's the whole purpose of,
I'm with you.
Touching on characters that we're not that familiar with.
So a quick definition or a quick thing for Hulkling is literally he is the offspring or the bastard child of a Kree and a Skrull. Two of them together created a baby, and that baby looks like Incredible Hulk, but he has blonde hair. Like that's literally if you go to the current.
I feel like I knew that, but I'm like,
you literally just saw him. Do you remember the storyline that they just had in Marvel Comics called Empire?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
yes, okay. He's the reason that he is literally like he's the heir to the throne of both of them because he's the only existing Kree and Skrull. These two warring, butting head alien races came together and made a baby that's like super strong and can do all these different things. That's the only character that we haven't seen.
It's funny. That also sounds like Saga, the comic book Saga, with two people from different.
I mean, we should probably at that same time look at the dates of both of them and see who might have copied off of one. I don't know, Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. I love you guys. I don't know if you might have read the Young Avengers and said, click, draw that, done. Sorry.
Can't even find, if you go to the comic book store nowadays, you can't even find Young Avengers, like single issues.
Oh, no, single issues, they're gone. No,
they're already gone.
No, they gone. That whole section.
eBay, these days, eBay and Mercari and whatever other apps are your only option probably to find news at this point.
You could get lucky sometimes. It's just the cool thing, the reason, I'll tell you the reason why. And this is our comic book corner. One of the reasons why it's hard to find those is because a lot of those books particularly didn't have a lot of print runs. So nowadays you got like print number, die number 1 at like the 17th printing or the Last Ronin at the 6th printing or the Fortnite Batman book that's at like the 5th printing of number 1. And that means that there's going to be not as many of those other runs, but as time goes on, like I just bought.
And it also means that people are holding on to their stuff. They're like, yeah, I want to keep this. I'm not selling it.
Yeah, they're realizing when they look at it, when you don't, just so anybody who's new to collecting comics, if you happen to see that your book doesn't have a run on it, that means it's the first one. Like if it doesn't say 2nd printing, 3rd printing, whatever, it's also something that's marketable. You can Google
which is not very common these days.
Yeah, these days
people are making such good stuff that you at least get at 3 runs. I feel like if you don't get any additional runs, then you in a club by yourself where the other writers or artists like, yo, dog, your book didn't get a 2nd run. What you doing?
Well, also keep in mind, I will say that this is a little bit of like a dirty secret, but we're telling you here because we like you guys.
Whoa! This is a family show. Can't be doing dirty stuff here.
We do dirty secrets all the time. I don't know, but the dirty secret is here is that just like the music industry, the book industry is changing. In which, in order to have a certain amount of run, the amount, like remember back when we were young tykes in high school, to go platinum, you had to sell 1 million records.
Yeah.
Now to go platinum, it might be 100,000 records. So when you lower the bar, then you could get more print runs. Like if you're not printing as many books, then when you get a hot book, you might get to a 2nd run because you're not selling 1 million books first time around.
Think about going back in time like Loki. Could you imagine if you could go back? Let's say you could go back to like 12 years old and you got a chance to go to the comic book store. Like I would be in there like, let's wait, but I need to take the key collectors app. I'm like, no, wait, that has to exist so I can find a first appearance of so many different characters. And be like,
I think you would be a thousandaire, but not a millionaire.
I don't know. Imagine if I had a time machine to go back in time and just travel around to different comic book stores and buy up all the first appearances of even. I think about it. Like if you think about even
what time frame are you talking about? Because
think about like let's go back to even like the early 90s. I doubt that even the first appearance of Loki was worth as much as it is now back in the early 90s.
Hang on. Loki's first appearance was way before the 90s, but I know what you mean.
No, I'm saying like even though it was way before the 90s, no, there was no thought of live action Loki and movies and TV
Correct.
shows. So nobody was thinking about it. So if you walked to a comic book store back then and said the first appearance of Loki, please, they might have been like, oh, you want that? That's $100. Back then, I mean, now.
Oh, I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Yeah. You are like,
if you're in the 90s, then that means that wall book is nowhere near what that wall book is now. I see what you're saying.
Because if you go back then, maybe it was $100 to buy the first appearance of Loki back in 1991. So, I'd be like, be in a phone book calling up every comic book store in town. Like, I'm going to go ahead and buy 25 copies of the first appearance of Loki. Then I'm going to come back to
the first printing of X-Men #1 with Jim.
Yeah. Then I'm going to come back to 2021 with those books, have a set for myself, and say, all right, gentlemen, should we start the bidding on a mint copy of...
I'll put it to you straight like this. This is what I would do. I would do the same thing you're saying, but I would do something a little bit further. I would take it a step back, and I would literally make a list of everyone in 2021 that's no longer with us and have them sign stuff. And then come back to this time.
You know what I thought you were going to say? I thought you were going to be even crazier and go back in time and steal the idea to create Loki in the first place. That's what I thought you were going to.
No, I'm not. No,
you know what? I want the credit. I'm going all the way back.
I couldn't go. Well, once again, that's a little bit too far back.
Oh.
We're just saying.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny. You can't keep. I think I was just telling somebody that.
Not really too good.
I think I was just telling somebody that because I was saying like I'm a big fan of like stuff from the 1950s, but would I want to travel back to the 1950s in person? I'm not. Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe and just stay in certain areas.
It's like, think about some of the movies you like that are from like the 1950s. Like one of your favorite movies is Back to the Future.
Yeah, I was gonna say Back to the Future. They did have, some black characters, and they did say like, hey, I don't want a problem with no spooks. They even like they were very accurate in that dialogue. So
I mean, yeah.
Not what they called them. I just mean like how people.
I know what you mean. They're not lying about the time. So it's like, yeah, I would go back because you got to think about it. Like, who just did that more recently in something we watched within like maybe the last 2 years? Umbrella Academy season 2. Remember when they went back? It was just like immediately. It's like, oh, that's right. Like you're just a black woman in 2020, but here. You are something else.
Yeah,
and it ends in ER.
But
it's like, whoa.
Not only you something else, but you can't be mouthing off like you doing too.
Yeah, so that kind of thing's like, what did you say? Somebody go get the cops because she's talking back to me.
But Loki. Let's see. Rating. Let's all three episodes we watched so far. Rating one out of 10.
Episode 1, 10. Episode 2. 9, episode 3, 9 for me. Just because, like,
I would give it those same ratings because the second one I did the ending to the second one did like whoa that is
You mean the burst of all of these like multiverse
the reveal of who this is and the burst of all the multiverse stuff was like that was like two mind-blowing situations because. Yeah, I was settled in my head like, oh, well, you know what? Even though this is a cool show, they're not going to reveal who the character is till. Oh, shit, okay. It kind of gave me that Game of Thrones type of feel in the good seasons where like you were thinking like, oh, well, this isn't going to happen because he's oh, shit, they just killed him. Because, So, yeah.
I have another thing. I also think that we've already met the true villain of the show. Who do you think is the villain of the show?
I think if there is a twist and there's a villain of the show, I think it's Mobius.
Oh, I wasn't going to say Mobius. I was going to say
only my only reasoning is because he's the only character who like took an interest in Loki. I know they said it was because he was a fan of him or whatever, but he took an interest in Loki, and then he's like, "Come on," he wanted him to go do this, go catch this person. So I thought, like, if we were gonna do a plot twist, like maybe Mobius himself turns out to be one of the fucking timekeepers, like something like that.
I have another theory for him, good sir. My theory for Mobius is, I know exactly. I will say that my theory is that Mobius is another Loki.
That Mobius. Okay, yeah, that's another good theory too.
And the whole
yeah,
like I learned about you is just because I was learning about other people.
He's a shapeshifter. Yeah, because he's a shapeshifter. He can. That makes sense.
But here's one. Now this might be nothing, but once again, because I just recently watched these episodes today, like over again. There is a moment that Loki has in the courtroom. Go back and watch it, or anybody who's watching this or listening, go back and watch it and see if that was intentional. The moment that like the judge, Ravonna Renslayer, when she sentences Loki and they're pulling him away, and he comes over and asks the girl to, like give him to him or whatever, and she's like, all right, but it's, better work or blah, blah, blah. And then when Loki asks, who are you? He just smiles at him. He didn't answer. And then he's just like, then in the elevator, he didn't answer that question of who he is. Then when he in the elevator, he's like, oh, they call me Agent Mobius. It's kind of like the same way Sylvie's like, I came up with the name Sylvie. The whole Agent Mobius could just be like, that's the name I came up with myself. I just came up with that.
Yeah, it's just deflecting who. It would be cool if we got to see old man Loki. That's what I was thinking too in this series. And I mean, like from the cartoons and the comics, the older, skinnier Loki that has like the super, that has the horn. It would be cool if it was like an older version of him that was behind all this stuff. And then part of me also thinks Mobius has nothing to do with this too, just because of the last episode where they talked about what he basically kind of found out the TVA may not be what it is, and it could be a WandaVision situation where all these people could be, essentially brainwashed and stuck here because Mobius mentioned like his love for jet skis. So maybe he could just be like, what the fuck was his name from WandaVision? The dude where we're like, it's Quicksilver, and he turned out to be like just Rad or whatever. Like it could be that situation where like
Rad Boner,
where he could just be like, he could be Tom, and before the TVA took him, he was just a car salesman that liked jet skis.
Well, no, here's the thing: we all like the way what they sort of confirmed in the third episode is basically everybody who works for the TVA, which makes perfect sense for a villain organization. So if the Timekeeper's job is to try to maintain the sacred timeline. And who causes a problem for that to not be a sacred timeline? Variants. So what better way for me to keep everything in check than to take all of the variants that I know about, mind wipe them, and then make them work for me as police officers that basically hunt down all of these other variants.
Because it makes sense. Like when he was like, "I'll gut you like a fish," and the guy's like, "What's a fish?" Like that makes sense. That makes sense that he didn't know what a fish was if his mind is wiped. Another
pay attention to the dialogue because it's telling you more is going on than you think is going on. When Loki and Owen Wilson, Mobius is sitting down at the table, he essentially asks him like what he does, and he's like, "My job is basically to hunt down the most dangerous of variants." And he's like me? He's like, "No, not you. You're like a pussycat." So I'm thinking to myself, that goes back to my theory earlier when they were in the church, and also when they were looking at that futuristic looking like sword or whatever the heck that circle thing was. To me, when I look at that, he's telling you straight up, like, I'm not. Wait, hold on a second.
Audience, he has left the building for a second.
No, I wasn't thinking of it. I thought of that. Sorry. I'll cut this out.
Pee break. Nah.
Pee break. Coming right back to the show. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. But so coming back to the point where he's searching for the most dangerous of variants, I still think that he's sort of using Loki to search for the real person that he's searching for. The actual big bad in this show for me, I think, is Ravonna Renslayer, the judge. I think that's the actual big bad of the show.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. especially if she's the only one, especially since she's the only one who like can talk to the timekeepers.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Her
like,
job, as she said, is I dictate.
Yeah, Mobius basically said, like, I never even met them. Like, I just work here. And and she's the only one that talks to them and gets decisions from them. So that would make sense if she's actually one of them.
The other little pieces of nuggets that tell me that she's actually
you know what? She's Mephisto.
I don't know. The other thing that tells me she's also potentially a bad guy is the fact that she also, and again, looking at the scene, the scenes that seem to tell you a lot is when two people are on screen talking to each other. When she goes in and I want to say Owen Wilson, Mobius asked her for permission.
Oh wow, it's me, Owen Wilson.
It's Owen Wilson. They go in and she's trying to get he's trying to run with Loki's theory of the variants being at the moments of apocalypse. And hiding within those places in time and space, and he's trying to get more agents or whatever for her to sign off on it. There's a couple of different things in that scene.
If that theory was true, it wouldn't make sense being that we literally had a scene where she's sitting behind the serpents, like she's sitting behind the stat. It's she's basically like a viper. She's hiding in plain sight.
She told you straight up. It's like you listen to the dialogue. She told you straight up, and he's like, "Oh, when they're in the office, they start the shot off from what a lot of people are theorizing to be Kang the Conqueror, which is one of the timekeepers. They do this whole pan out shot where they're showing this big statue, and then they show the room, and she's standing there, and Mobius is admiring some of the trinkets that has been brought to her from various different, they call them analysts that are out there, that she's working with. And she's like, what, do you think you're the only analyst that's working for me right now? And I'm like, well, who else is working for you right now that's out in the field doing something? What's going on? Again, the analyst is somebody in the suit and tie.
That sounds, what that sounds like? That sounds like an after credit scene. If she does turn out to be a bad guy, that seems like she survives. Correct. She survives this. And we find out another agenda and an after credit, because we haven't, how Marvel loves to give us after credits. We haven't gotten any yet.
So there was another little Easter egg in that scene that was important, that also made you scratch your head and say, who do you have in the TVA that might have just have existed already in the MCU, but we didn't know that they were an analyst or something, which is the pen that he signs with. He looks at the pen and goes, Franklin Roosevelt High School. You know what Franklin Roosevelt High School is?
Is that Spider-Man?
That's Spider-Man. Yeah. So it's who brought her a pen from the world that Spider-Man is in? And she's using it oh, this is a cute little trinket. What did you do in that time frame where you went and had a TVA agent do something over there or analyze, following somebody? So she has things that are a trophy case of things that she's done, which means that tells you right away, her or whatever people that are working for her, the TVA has already done shit in the MCU that we haven't seen.
They've done stuff or they changed stuff already that we're not aware of.
It could be easily something simple
because once they go in and they fix stuff, they use those little bombs to destroy everything else. So
there's no evidence of it. You won't even know that they're there. They literally go in and boom, that's it. They're literally boom. I'm happy so far with what I'm getting. I just kind of thought I was getting more, but that's just me being,
I feel like I don't mind the slow down pace. It makes sense.
Yeah, I like it.
We had WandaVision and Falcon, so they all right, so we're gonna just try to ease you up. Up next we got Black Widow coming, and I'm asking myself, are we gonna see Black Widow come back? Probably not. I think this is just I think the after credit may lead to something else that's currently going on. I think the film itself is gonna serve as more as just a prequel and a send off of the Black Widow character.
My only thing is this, that I want to know if it happens anywhere in this movie, and I want to know if it turns out that this movie is actually the story of Budapest. That's all I want. If it's possible that
maybe
Hawkeye is in this movie and whatever happens is that kind of story that goes into it. Because I don't know if this is after Civil War, then it's not. But if it's like somewhere earlier on that we didn't know about her going on, like basically for me, this movie kind of feels a little bit like Far From Home, which is like, hey, we're going to take our hero, we're going to take him off on this misadventure that's not like at home here in America. It's some other misadventure, but it's important for you to pay attention because the people that this main character interact with do have something to do with back in the world that you know, which is a regular MCU. So I'm pretty sure, like, we already know from, like, you know, from the interviews with, what's her name, the chick from Seinfeld, that she's in Black Widow. We don't know what capacity.
What was it, Louise Dreyfus?
Louise Dreyfus, yeah. We know that she's in there, either in an after-credit scene or whatever, and we know that for her, she's slowly but surely building up a team of people.
She doing her own thing behind the scene.
If I can be honest, I believe personally that she's the white Amanda Waller. That's what it seems like to me. That's literally what she is. She's building a Suicide Squad called the Thunderbolts, and she's going around to different parts. If you want to stay within MCU, she's just literally the female bad Nick Fury.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, mouthing off.
It's okay. Hello. It's okay.
But so. That is our Loki midterm episode 1 through 3 recap, as well as diving deeper into the Marvel.
This review serves a glorious purpose.
Oh, one more thing, I want people to go and check out hearing this out. And this is my own theory, and I've Googled this and I haven't seen it anywhere. So just so you know, I'm the first one to say it. I haven't seen it anywhere, and I don't know where else you can find this, but if you go onto Disney Plus and you click on Loki and you look at the 3 episodes that's up there, or if you watch the episodes, but it's easier to see if you look at just the episodes. You can see
the episode screen.
The episode screens that show the episodes that's there. I think the first one is Glorious Purpose. Second one is Variant, and then the third one is Lamentus. Yeah. Right? If you look at the color scheme of each of the episodes and throughout the entire episode, the color scheme of each of the episodes are the stones from the Gauntlet. Look at what was the predominant color on screen in the 3rd episode?
It was purple.
Why was the whole thing? Go to the 3rd one. The whole thing is green. The first one. So if you list it, you have the first one, which is the Soul Stone. The second one is the green, which is the Time Stone. And then the third one was the Power Stone. This is just my theory, but if you look at the themes, the underlining themes of each of the episodes and what the main things that the characters were doing in those episodes, first episode is the Soul Stone, simply because this is diving into the soul of Loki, also the soul of the show.
Okay.
The other thing is you look at the second episode and you have it being the Time Stone. That's the one that they did the most sort of time travel because they're kind of chasing after Sylvie. And then the third stone, the third stone is the Power Stone. The Power Stone is basically talking about power, like the lack of power, which is what Loki did.
Yeah, they need power when they
need power. Exactly. They literally need power for the little device that they had. They literally need power in this thing, as well as they talk about power in terms of the classes, which is the poor people who can't get on the train.
Power too. They also lost power too at the end.
Saying,
when the thing gets destroyed and they're stuck.
It is my theory, and I have not seen it anywhere else online. So you heard it here first. And if it is true, and if it is true,
then remember that Ronnie told you, not Markell. That's why it's essentially called the Ronnie and Markell podcast. Because
since you are going to, hopefully you get a chance to listen to this before episode 4 drops on Wednesday. Today is Saturday. If you get a chance to listen to it before this coming Wednesday, if I go on there and I click on that button, I'm telling you right now, my hair is gonna burst off of my head.
You mean down. if the next episode is another color? Because that could just be that ultimately could be nothing, and it could just be them doing something cool. But if it turns out to be something within the show too,
if you click on that screen for Loki and you go on that screen and you scroll down to the 4th episode and the color scheme is red, that's it. I'm done. I won the day. I win. It's over. I am the master and the ruler of the world. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, Sid Vicious.
Oh, nice job. Nice catch. Nice catch. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving us your time.
Like and subscribe button.
Like and subscribe, whether you are watching our beautiful faces and seeing actually the inside of our homes, or if you are listening to this in your ear. We're very happy that you gave us your time and
leave a comment as well. Tell us what you think of the episode. Tell us other stuff you want to hear. What you want us to talk about? Any other?
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. I don't care what you want to hear. Okay,
wow.
I don't care what you. I'm gonna say what I want. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it is lovely to be able to sit here and once again do the show with this guy over here. Without him, I still would be able to do this show. I'm kidding. If it was not for this guy over here bringing his nerd stuff over into my world over here, we wouldn't have this show. So we bring the show together. This is the Ronnie and Markell Make a Podcast show. This episode particularly doesn't have a number because we've been away for a while. Yeah. So I don't even remember.
Just for a minute. I mean, we've only been gone for just a little bit.
Since the snap of 2020.
Oh yeah, that was definitely a snap last.
That was a snap, and then slowly but surely we're kind of going through time and trying to get us back on track for things. So I appreciate you guys sticking with us. If you're here, if you're an old subscriber, you're finally Instagram. Thank God they came back.
Stuff. Yeah.
If you follow us on Instagram,
if you're doing all that stuff, we thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And then you can see right in the corner there our names. If you don't know our names fully, you want to try to contact us individually, totally fine as well. Please no nudes. I don't want any nudes sent to me. I don't now that I said that, I can guarantee you that's gonna be a tough shit. I'm just gonna get a bunch of dick pics. No.
Wait, now I gotta give out the email. It's if you want to send us some great comments, not dick pics, it's Ronnie and Markell at gmail.com. Not
Ronnie about to get a bunch of them. What's going on?
I'm like, we ain't doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing reviews on dick pics. We ain't that type. It's that type.
We appreciate your time. Please tune in and don't forget to say your prayers and eat your vitamins.
All right. What you gonna do when the Ronnie and Markell podcast comes?
What you gonna do? Whoop.